Hey guys, this is the Motorcycle TransAm Podcast. A big shout out to all of our sponsors who are just as passionate about keeping this sport alive as we are. Legends Motorcycles, Sinless Cycles, Veritas Vintage, Competition Distributing, and the Antique Motorcycle Club of America. Thanks everybody.
Hi, everybody. It is Kelsey here, back with the Motorcycle TransAm, and I am here with Norm Nelson this week. Hi, Norm.
Hey there, Kelsey. Nice to talk to you.
Yeah, how are you doing today?
Doing great. Yeah, we need in Florida here, or rain in Florida, so we're getting it. So I'm happy.
Yeah, so for those of you that don't know, Norm is riding a 1911 Reading Standard. So Sean and I are both really happy about that because we love Reading Standards. They come from Pennsylvania, where we're from.
That's right.
So you rode one in a previous Cannonball, didn't you?
I did in 2016. A friend of mine, Jack Wells, I did two previous Cannonballs. Jack Wells is a buddy of mine from Lake City, and he has BMWs, and I rode a 1928 and a 29 BMW, had a really good time. And so I decided that I would get a bike for myself. And I bought a 1911 Reading Standard, which is now in the Birmingham, Alabama Barber Museum. And it was so fine and so nice. It needed to be in a museum. So in the meantime, my friend Billy Lane, who lived in Daytona at that time, he told me about a guy named Mike who had another RS for sale, and this was in, I think, 2000s, later in 16 and 17, and it ended up being Mike Wolf from the Pickers. And so I didn't know who it was. I just know he was Mike, and I called him and we made a deal, and I went up there and picked it up there in Tennessee. And then Billy Lane really helped me a lot with the bike. And but the original one that I rode in 16, I made it to Pueblo, Colorado, but we had a couple problems with crank pins and also the cylinder head. So, it did as well as it could. But I think the Harleys and the Indians of that day were maybe a little bit more robust in the engine, but I love the Reading Standard. And so one of the reasons I got a second one is I thought, well, it would be fun to try to compete again with one. And so that's how that all happened. And I got the bike from Mike, and Billy helped me. And my friend Steve Pennington at Ormond Beach kind of does most of the moto work. And then I have a team, Jack and Sheila Wright, who live in Conyers, Georgia. They're going to be going. And also Van Singley's a buddy of mine. He used to work for Ducati. So that's my team.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have a great team behind you.
It is a good team. It's just, we all have a good time. Jack and Sheila have already been on one of the events, and so we know the ropes a little bit anyway.
Is that how you got into vintage motorcycles, in that 2012 race, or were you into them before that?
I was into them a little bit before that. I was a Navy pilot and was stationed in Southern Maryland, and I always wanted to get a dirt bike, and so I met some people there and started dirt bike riding. And then after I got out of the Navy, I got a job with Delta Airlines as a pilot and moved to the Texas area again. And my buddies were all doing cross country and motocross, and so I got into that. And then I got into a little bit of amateur road racing, and did as good as I could, wanted to be safe as I could, but ran as good as I could, and that was pretty good for the situation. And so I started racing with a guy, and we did some endurance racing, and that was about the time some of the people that have been around a while will remember Hammer Racing, Team Hammer, and they had the big Suzuki, and we were racing a little Can-Am 250, and for what it was a lot of fun. But the overtake speeds when you were racing with these other people in an endurance race were like, ooh, okay. I think I'll do something else. So I decided to get into vintage road racing. And so that's where the thing started with me. And I met Bino Rodi there in Atlanta. And he had a friend, Robert Lincolns, who had a 1950 Norton Manx, super neat bike. And I had BSA and a Triumph too. So I started road racing in AHRMA, which you're probably familiar with. And that's where I really, really got deep into the vintage thing. And then I was asked in 2012, because of my, I've got a 58 Sportster too that's vintage. And
Mhm.
I was asked to ride Jack Wells's BMWs and a couple of Cannonballs. And so I am totally vintage through and through. You can see that right there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you.
In those previous two Cannonballs, did you finish? Did you do the whole race on those BMWs?
I did. We in 2012 on an R11, which is a 744cc BMW. Yes, got a perfect score. Finished third. I
Wow.
think. Oh gosh, I forgot his name right now, but there was a Excelsior. Brad Wilmarth won, and another really good guy whose name escapes me now. Super good guy. He's a machinist and had a Harley Davidson 1000 twin, and we finished third that time. And so we decided to go with a smaller CC bike in 2014 to see if we could win. And
Mhm.
so I ran a 484 flathead BMW R52 in that run, and we ended up finishing second. We probably should have won that one, but a little jiggle happened to the last day, which it is what it is, you know. And but it was a lot of fun, and so that's why I chose to go with a single cylinder bike that in 16, because I thought, well, you know, maybe I can finish and do that. So that's how that all started, with the BMW and with the Reading. So a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely in the race on this one, because there's only one other 1911 in the race, and you guys are the two oldest. So yeah, you guys are definitely gonna have a fun time, I think.
Well, it will be. Oh yeah, Dave from North Dakota, super good guy, and I
Mhm.
know he's won a Cannonball before. I think finished second. You know, there are so many good riders that compete in you know, in the Trans Am now too, and it's just one of those things that, you know, you go out there and you meet such great people. You see the back roads from America, and you know, it's good. It's all good.
Mhm. Yeah. So what drew you to participate in our race?
Well, the Reading was sitting in the hangar, in my hangar, actually hangar garage, and I just kept looking at it and thinking, man, I sure would like to at least make it all the way to the end on this motorcycle. So that's really when I found out. And also Steve Rinker is a friend, and of course his two boys and Dee Dee. And you know, Steve's a great guy, and I really thought, well, if Steve Rinker is in on this deal, it has to be pretty cool. So and I have to say that I really like the way you set the rules up in it, and that is that the you know, ride along factor of other people helping you who are really kind of there for you is cut out in the way you did it. You know, it should be the spirit of it should be that you either fix it yourself or another competitor fixes it, or maybe the person on the street, but not a buddy. And you know, I've had buddies that have been around too. So you know, this is a good way to do it. So good for you for doing that in the rules.
Yeah, our board came up with all the rules because we want it to be, you know, ride or run. So everybody gets a say. You know, we have, you know, the Henderson guys, Indian guys, Harley guys. We want everybody to kind of get their say, so we can all get along and make it the best race, you know.
Thank you. Good job.
Do you want to talk any more about your Reading Standard, the Reading Standard that you're riding, or the one that you rode in 2016?
No, like I say, the one in 2016, you know, it was interesting back then. I had never really had a bike that old, and so Dale Waxler, you know, had just started his Wheels Through Time, and I had met him before, and so I called him and said, you know, I've got this Reading, and I said, can you help me with it? And he said, well, first of all, you don't run it, because he said that Reading you bought is probably the best unrestored Reading in the world. And so I said, well, Dale, I just got to ride it. You know, I'm going to do it. But what I did is I took the wheels off and the gas tank off, and I had new wheels made. Hey, kitty. I had new wheels made and a new gas tank made out of aluminum. And like I say, I ran it. And when I finished that in Pueblo and brought it back home and brought it back and put the original wheels in the tank and everything, it didn't look anything different than when I bought it. And so that's when I thought, I need to, you know, sell this to Barbara, which is what I did. And so I may be getting a little off track what you said, but
it's okay.
That is important for me, that bike is in, and I think it's probably still there. So it's really cool to see a bike like that that's unrestored. And so The one I got now, I got from Mike Wolf, but it was a complete skeleton pretty much. And I'm glad I got it. I appreciate it. And Billy, I will say Billy Lane was very, very helpful with me in basically restoring the bike to where I could, do what I want to do with the Trans Am with it. And so the bike I have now, we've upgraded the crank pin, and we're doing some work to upgrade the cylinder, because one of the weak points in the Reading standards, if you're going to do what I try to do, is the exhaust valve seat is so close to the bore that, if you run it, and of course it's a cast iron head, when you run it, it gets hot, and then a crack develops between the bore and the seat. And then, you can run it to town, but you can't climb a hill on it. So we're upgrading that. And so we're going to be 500 cc like it was actually 484, I think. And so, yeah, the bike is, and I run the clincher tires, just kind of old school. I mean, I know it's, just more of a chance of getting a flag flat, which is, the thing about it is, Kelsey, you just go out and have some fun and do the best you can. That's the thing. But I really love the Reading. It's unusual. It's a very neat design there, as you know. And, and when I was looking at buying the first one, just a little side note, I read up on the Reading standard a little bit. It was in the Mecum auction, and Wayne Carini had it for sale. You may have heard of him. He was with the Chasing Classic Car guys. My friend Jack Wells was out there, and he ended up buying it, so I didn't beat him. But I remember reading about the Reading, and what really got my attention was that there, in 1906 is when he developed this engine, and 3 Reading standards in 1906 made it to the top of Pikes Peak. And so I thought, well, okay, and then there's a place that you may know, it's called Duryea Hill in Reading, where they still, I think, do sports car things to the top. So they said it's tested in the hills. So, well, I've tested it. And, I think hopefully the things we're doing to it are going to make it more reliable. But I truly love the style and the motorcycle. To me, it's a very elegant machine. And so happy to have one.
Do you have any other bikes other than your other Reading? Well, I guess that's at the museum now. Sure. What other antique bikes do you have?
I have a 1956 BSA Gold Star that I raced in AHRMA for a number of years. It's out there now, right? And I'm going to make a road bike out of it. I also have a 69 Triumph T100R, which it was a race bike that I raced in the 500 sportsman class. And then I have a 58 Sportster that I've had since 1971. And I've been to Alaska twice on it. And then my wife got me for our second wedding anniversary a 1971 Sportster XLH as well. So everything's old pretty much. And I have a bunch of Piaggio scooters, which are about 10 or 12 years old too. So
that's pretty cool.
Thank you.
I mean, I guess airplanes too. I don't know if you have antique airplanes, but I know you have them.
I flew airplanes for 34 years and I love them. And I do live on an air park. And but the hangar's full of motorcycles, maybe an airplane at some time in the future, but I know I can get a ride and go flying anytime I want with my friends out here. So that's the way it is.
That's pretty handy.
Thank you.
Do you want to talk about any special memories you have that are tied to motorcycles with family or friends, or one of the events you've done?
Yeah, I have something here that I want to show you. This is the bottom of a Budweiser beer can. And this is with Cannonball. And this is twine. And the day that I went from Dodge City, this is a story about the Cannonball, and with the Trans Am, with me, same thing. The day that I rode from Dodge City to Pueblo was my day from hell, you might say. So this is a special event, and so not too long after I left Dodge City, and it has a little bit of a front suspension on my bike. It's like a Springer front end, but the rear has no suspension. But there is a plunger with the seat, and then these old bikes, the seat was the deal because there wasn't much suspension, so there were all kinds of springs and bolts and everything. Well, about a couple hours out of Dodge City, one of the bolts failed on the seat, and so I ended up about 45 degrees to the left. So I stuck my butt back on the tail pack there and rode the rest of the day that way. And then I was in the flatlands in eastern Colorado. I could see the mountains, but I was in the ranching area, and all of a sudden the header pipe fell off. And so here it was, bouncing down the road. So I had to pull over for that. And I got that fixed, and a rancher came along in a big machinery thing, and I said, "Do you have any baling wire?" And he said, "Well, maybe." And he came back in a pickup truck, so I baling wired the thing together, and then I was on a 2-lane road going toward Pueblo, going due west, and all of a sudden the bike quit. It's 2-lane, windy, typical day there in eastern Colorado, western Kansas. And it just like it turned off. And so I pulled the bike over, put it on the rear stand, and I started looking at the bike, and all of a sudden I realized that the brass round piece that goes on the magneto to hold the points on was gone. So, okay, that's why it's not, I lost my spark. So yeah, started looking around, and I thought, well, I know what I can do. I can make some kind of a round thing to stick back on. And so first of all, I look for twine. So I found a bunch of this white twine. This is the stuff on the side of the road. And then I found a Budweiser beer can. So I got another one actually too. And then I cut the thing off. And when I put it on there, it was flat. So I got everything on and tried to start it, no spark. And I thought, I need to make this thing, I guess it would be concave. So I'm standing there or sitting there, kneeling on the side of the road with the butt end of my screwdriver.
Oh my gosh!
Making this thing where it needed to be. And about that time, my team came by in the motorhome, and of course, your team can't help you at all. And so I'm down there doing like this, and when they went by, they told me later, they said, "Oh, Norm's lost it. He's lost it. He's down on the side of the road, and he said he can't go anymore. He's just feeling so bad. He's hitting the pavement, So put it back on. Doggone thing made it all the way in. So I finally made it. Oh my gosh! I actually made it within the time period in that day, and of course found out when we got there that the crank pin had loosened again, so we had to go home. But that's a story from the Cannonball that that it's one of those things where you do this thing and you're gonna have problems, and you just have to overcome them. That's all. And the thrill of it is with being all the people and having fun and trying to do the best you can. So.
Yeah, that is such a great story and a neat. To even think to do that, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, you have to be, as much as you can, a MacGyver.
So. That's exactly what that is.
That's funny. True. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
So out of all the races that you've done, you talked about the other endurance races, some other types of races you've done. Which has been your favorite, or maybe all of them? I don't know.
Well, I would say that for one particular time in the amount of biking that I've done is the first race that I won in Daytona at the vintage races in March. And this was I think this was in might have been 1990, or way back when. And I was racing for the first time that Norton Manx that my friend had let me race. And there I got a bad start. And it was before they went on the banking. It was all in the infield, but it was, still racing and stuff. And I think it was a 6-lap race. And we got a really bad start, but there was a guy on a V-twin Harley flathead. And then there was another guy who was on another Norton Manx. Mark Samuelson is his name, actually. And I think he's been from Pennsylvania. And there's an international horseshoe there on the infield, which most people have been to Daytona. They know where that is. Well, on every lap, I was catching those guys, and they were pretty much duking it out, and I was catching them. And the last lap, I came into the international horseshoe, making the right turn, and it's a 180-degree turn, and I outbraked them. And as I came out of the corner, I was between the Harley and the BSA, and as we went to the finish line, I just beat the BSA about a wheel length. So I would say, having really not road raced much, that was a big thrill for an old airline pilot who was having fun racing at Daytona. So
yeah,
that sounds the most fun.
Yeah, that sounds like a really fun time. Yeah. Have you been to the Sons of Speed, to Billy's Sons of Speed at all?
I've been a couple times. It's been a while since I've been there, but then now that takes some cojones to get out there on, on a direct drive, chain drive bike like that. And, I'll give it to Billy. He's really a cool guy, and he's keeping the old stuff alive, kind of like Lonnie Isom did when he started the Cannonball.
Yeah,
bikes
definitely. They're both definitely visionaries, that's for sure, because we appreciate anybody keeping the old stuff going. And Sons of Speed is one of our favorite events to go to. We have, won it a couple times on the single, and my husband just won on a single in the spring was the first time he's won.
What Harley or Indian or
a Harley? Yeah.
Nice. Excellent. Congratulations.
Blocked off Harley. Yeah, Bill Page built a motor, so
Awesome.
He's the Harley whisperer.
Oh, that's neat. Nice.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it was a good time. So do you have any expectations for the ride or any of the hard parts? If you've listened to any of the stuff that we've done before or seen any of the emails, what do you expect?
Well, first of all, I like the route that you've chosen. And it actually is similar to one that I've been on before. And my expectations are that as far as testing our motorcycle is that if we can climb well in the Appalachian Mountains, and if we can obviously climb well in the Rocky Mountains, I think it's going to be fun. That will be the deal in testing. And so my expectations is that it will be a fun ride. I really think it's cool that we're going from Nags Head and then west from there through the Smokies and Wheels Through Time, and some of the other museums we're going to visit are just so neat to go to. And that's a great thing to look forward to. And then, going out west and out of Colorado and then going up northwest from there is going to be an exciting time. One of the things you ask on the questions you thought you might ask is, where would you want to ride if you could ride in the world? And I said, I love the East. I love the Smokies and the Twisties, but there's something about getting out in the Great West that I just love.
I agree.
It's grand out there. It's just absolutely grand. And I'm looking forward to that. So.
Yeah, there's one part out there that we're kind of keeping a secret that we know that no other ride has been through this area, and it is just spectacular. So I'm very excited about that day.
Awesome.
Well, I'm excited about all the days, but the West is just special.
Yeah, that's great. Elsie, we appreciate that.
For a stop that you're probably looking forward to, then I would expect you're probably excited about the Evergreen Aviation Museum.
Yeah. I haven't really, I don't know much about that, but that's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah. The Spruce Goose is there. That's like, it seems like their biggest attraction.
Yeah. Nice.
But they have all these buildings, like giant buildings, just filled with airplanes from different areas and different things. It's incredible.
Oh, that is fantastic. Yeah. I will really look forward to seeing that. Thanks for doing that. And once again, thanks for all of you, putting this together. I mean, this is a deal that's really doesn't happen very often, and I appreciate it.
Yeah. We'll go every 2 years, and then so 2025, 2027, and then in 2028, we're going to put on a run for anybody who's completed the miles in this year or in 2027. If you have all the miles, doesn't have to be both years, just one of the years. It'll be like a shorter, like a champions race, not like champions, but anybody who's made all the miles.
Awesome. That's cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's neat.
So it sounds like a lot of people in this vintage motorcycling community. What's been like your experience so far?
Oh, well, the people are the deal. I mean, Frank Westfall and Dave and oh golly, I can't think of everybody right now. Of course, the Rinkers and that's part of the deal, and I forgot my friend Sean and the gal that was on, and Sean and his wife are just the nicest people. They live near Melbourne, and they come sometimes, and she plays her music in the morning sometimes. And so you meet a lot of great folks, and I think that's one of the most fun parts about it is obviously the competition part, but it's the people you meet and also the help you get. Sometimes you end up on the side of the road and somebody comes along and becomes an angel to you.
Yeah, it seems like even the older guys, you're all learning from each other, and you're never gonna know everything. So it just seems like everybody's always helping everybody from what I've seen so far.
Yeah, no, that's true. Generally speaking, it's a pretty good camaraderie, and that is
Hmm.
one of the fun things about it. So definitely a great challenge, but it's one of those things you enjoy in life. Sometimes it's hard, but it's good when you do as well as you can. So
Yeah. Do you have any I know I mean, I guess the story you already told with the twine and the beer cans and everything is pretty funny, but do you have any other funny stories that you had from riding anytime? It doesn't have to be on a race.
well, yeah, as a matter of fact, this is vintage because I had a vintage BMW, an R100 RS, and you you ask about what tool that you like best in the questions too, and channel locks are kind of cool because you can do a lot with a channel lock, a wrench. And I was riding my BMW out to Colorado from Florida, and I was in Dalhart, Texas on my way, and I had a problem with my speedometer, and I knew what I needed to do, but I stopped at a Walmart to see if I could find a really small pair of pliers that I could get into this spot with. And
Mhm.
so I'm looking, I had stuff off and I was looking in there, and this guy pulled up in kind of a clapped out town car. And you remember that movie Dumb and Dumber?
Oh yeah.
Well, the guy looked like he could have been out of that movie. Not that he was dumb, but he was just the way he looked,
Mhm.
And he was, and he popped his trunk and he had a whole thing full of tools in there. I'm not sure where he got those tools, but
Yeah.
and so I mean it was hot, it was dusty. It gets hot up there in North Texas, in the Panhandle.
Mhm.
So and he looks in there and he pops out, and I have it in my toolkit right now. It's one of my favorite tools. It's a small pair of channel locks, and it was just the right size. And he said, here, take this and see how it does. And so I went in there, and sure enough, it took me 2 minutes. Boom, boom, boom. And I went back and handed it to him. And I said, thank you so much. And he said, no, you keep them. And I said, well, thank you, man. You are a really good guy. And he said, oh no, there was only one really good guy. And he pointed up to the sky. But it was just so sweet and kind. And I
Mhm.
never forgot that. And I still have that thing in my toolkit. So
Yeah, it sounds like it's the perfect size for the antique bikes, probably.
it was the perfect size. And yeah, no, motorcycling's been so much fun, and all the trips and all the people you meet and it being on two wheels is the deal. I mean, it's just the deal.
Mhm.
That's all. It's just fun seeing new
Mhm.
roads and new people.
Yeah. Yeah, and you enjoy bicycling too, so same two wheels, just a little slower.
Exactly, just like your dad, for sure.
Yep. Um, do you have any advice for anybody considering doing this in future events?
Yeah, the preparation is the deal. Just like with like Dave, in
Mhm.
his all the bikes have to be really prepped well, and even the best preparation, you don't know, you might get a flat or something like that. But yeah, the preparation, and then stay hydrated, and I don't drink much coffee or tea, but I like the 5 hour energy after lunch. Kind of prep,
Mhm.
gets me going a little bit, and
Yeah.
you get a good night's sleep and all that stuff. And no, I think and another saying that I like is persistence is omnipotent. You just have to try to do the best you can with what you have and be persistent. So, and
Mhm.
smile while you're doing it if you can. So,
Yeah. Are you upgrading the brakes on it at all? Did you I don't think you mentioned that yet.
no, I have, my friend Bino Rodi there in Georgia. He gave me a small drum brake, probably off a European moped or something. And
Mhm.
then I have, of course, the rear sheave, which is the rear pulley for the belt drive. The inside of the pulley is actually a brake drum. And so I have a rear brake that, I have a right lever on my right foot, and I can push it, and that brake pushes against the sheave, and that's my second brake. So on a scale of 10, it's probably about a 3, but that's the way these vintage bikes are. So I know some
Yeah.
people have disc brakes, which is good too. And But no, it's pretty good, pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Just have to watch
Mm-hmm.
yourself.
Yeah, that's for sure. So what are you hoping to achieve or take away from this experience? Well, we know you're in the running to win if you can make all the miles, but are you expecting anything else to, any other achievements?
I think it's really an amazing thing if you can get a perfect score. I mean, no matter where you finish in the Cannonball, to me, a perfect score every day, in my humble opinion anyway, every day getting the start on time and finish on time is a minor achievement. And then you build it up and you build it up. And so, if really I'd like to finish it. And if I finish it, then we'll see how things shake out. There's so many things that can happen, but you have to just kind of keep your head down and do what you have to do and persevere. And so, it would be fun to do well. I think, honestly speaking, given the problems that I've had with the bike, I think it will be a wonderful thing if I finish with a perfect score. And but we're going to do the best we can and have fun while we're doing it, and let things shake out the way they will.
Yeah, that's a good attitude to have, I think.
Thank you.
So why is preserving these motorcycles important to you?
I love old things. I love history, and going back to Lonnie Isom and of course now you guys and then Billy Lane and many other people who even the AHRMA bench and that sort of thing. I just love history a lot, and I think that having the bikes out on the road, if you can, is pretty cool. And so the sense of history, I think, is the biggest thing for me about preserving it and continuing it. And I just like the old stuff. That's all. So
yeah, who doesn't?
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm gonna do some rapid fire questions. They're usually not so rapid fire.
Okay.
If that's okay with you.
Sure.
What's your favorite vintage motorcycle brand?
Triumph. Yep, I like the Triumphs.
What's a dream bike you'd love to own?
I think a Vincent Black Shadow would be pretty cool. Probably never have one, but that big V-twin, pretty cool bike.
Yeah. What's your favorite tool in your garage?
Well, it's that little channel lock thing I was telling you that guy gave me there in that parking lot in Dalhart, Texas.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
When you're on the road riding, do you prefer coffee or tea in the morning?
I generally like orange juice or water. And like I say, during the day after lunch, I'll have a 5-hour energy, but not much of a coffee drinker.
Yeah, me either. Okay, that's pretty much it. So we can kind of finish up now with any final thoughts or closing thoughts that you have.
Just once again, thanks for you and the Rinkers and all the whole gang that's doing this. Thanks for allowing us to get in there and have some fun together. So thank you very much, Kelsey.
Yeah, awesome. All right, everybody. So that is it for this week, and we'll see you again next week. Bye.
See ya. Bye.